favorite, I'm sure you've talked about it. I forgot my napkin, so I wiped my hands with the American.
Stop scrolling right now. You are not going to believe the absolute insanity being spoken on live television. This is the raw reality of where modern politics is heading, and nobody is prepared for it.
Here's just some of them. All pigs are haram. That's a twofer, right? That's her Islamic green credentials. And also, I hate cops and want to see the cops destroyed, right? Seize the means of production. That's straight up Marxism. There's no way to hide that. And of course,
Wait, did you catch that? We have reached a point where political platforms sound more like satire than actual governance. Just listen to the rhetoric being pushed here. We are talking about elected officials and their inner circles openly advocating for seizing the means of production, a literal textbook Marxist talking point, while simultaneously boasting about a deep-seated hatred for law enforcement. It is absolutely wild to watch this unfold in real time. Look closely at the framing in these interviews. They aren't trying to hide it behind focus-grouped buzzwords anymore. The mask is completely off. The casual delivery of these extreme positions is what is truly staggering. You have to wonder how the moderate establishment plans to survive when the grassroots energy is demanding a complete teardown of the current system. If you look at the historical context, this kind of messaging would have ended a career overnight just a decade ago. Now, it is a fast track to winning a primary in a major metropolitan city. It really makes you question where the ceiling is for this movement. Is this just a localized bubble, or are we looking at the new normal for urban political warfare?
They want the destruction of this country, full stop. Dereliza Chevalier, right, who won the primary and therefore will be a sitting congressperson, right? She has said unequivocally, right? Unequivocally, she wants to see the destruction of Western civilization.
Hold up. Pause for a second and really process what was just broadcasted on international television. A major political faction in the United States is essentially adopting the destruction of Western civilization as a casual talking point. You literally cannot script this kind of escalation. Look at the panel's reaction. There is this mix of disbelief and stark realization that the rules of engagement have completely shifted. When political movements start framing their goals not as reform, but as the total dismantling of foundational systems, you are watching history pivot. Pay attention to how the Global South is being weaponized as a rhetorical tool here. It is a highly calculated move to reframe local economic grievances into a global struggle for moral supremacy. The fact that someone had to delete nearly 4,000 posts tells you everything you need to know about the digital paper trail these candidates leave behind. They are banking on the idea that outrage drives turnout better than policy ever could. It is a massive, high-stakes gamble, and watching the establishment squirm trying to figure out how to counter this energy is absolutely fascinating.
This is every election's important. We're doing very well. They want a lot of communists to come in. I'm saying it a little bit differently, but the people that they're pushing are communists, and this country is not going to have communists. Thank you very much.
All right, look at the body language here as he walks through the halls of the Capitol. It is completely unbothered, almost theatrical. He knows exactly what buttons to push, and dropping the word communist is not a slip of the tongue. It is a highly calibrated strategic missile. For decades, that word was a relic of the Cold War, something you would only find in history books or hyperbolic late-night radio. But watch how effortlessly it is being deployed now to draw a hard line in the sand. He is essentially daring the opposition to defend their most radical fringe. By doing this, he forces moderates into a highly uncomfortable corner. Either alienate your energetic grassroots base or own the extreme label on national television. It is a masterful, albeit chaotic, framing tactic. Notice how the surrounding entourage just absorbs the rhetoric without missing a step. This is the new baseline for political combat. The middle ground is completely evaporating, leaving voters to choose between two fiercely polarized realities. You are watching the absolute masterclass in narrative hijacking, and it is reshaping the entire electoral map right before our eyes.
I see our future. I see a New York that we can all afford. I see a New York that truly invests in its babies, not bombs. It is such a beautiful future. Thank you all.
Did you hear that specific pivot at the end? Babies, not bombs. It is the ultimate political bumper sticker, engineered in a lab for maximum virality and zero nuance. But let us actually unpack what is happening in this room. You have a candidate standing in front of a deeply engaged crowd, seamlessly connecting hyper-local cost of living issues with massive geopolitical military spending. That is an incredibly difficult rhetorical tightrope to walk, yet she does it without blinking. Watch the crowd's reaction. It is instant, visceral validation. This is not just about affordable housing anymore. It is about tying everyday economic frustration to a broader moral crusade. The strategy is absolutely brilliant because it makes opposing her feel like you are literally voting against children. It forces the old guard politicians to defend complex, unpopular federal budgets against a simple, emotionally charged slogan. You have to respect the sheer audacity of the messaging. It completely bypasses logical debate and goes straight for the emotional jugular. If this is the blueprint for future campaigns, the traditional consultants and pollsters are going to be completely out of a job very soon.
About the Democrat socialists you took, really, it's really communist. These people, I watched that woman last night. That's not a socialist. I know socialists. That woman is a communist. And you know what they don't say is that I was 16-0 last night.
Take a close look at the setting here. You have this formal, gilded room sitting opposite a foreign dignitary, and he just casually drops the heaviest political accusation imaginable, like he is discussing the weather. That woman is a communist. The juxtaposition between the extremely formal diplomatic environment and the raw, unfiltered domestic political attack is jarring. This is a deliberate tactic to strip away the complex layers of democratic socialism and boil it down to a single, terrifying buzzword for his base. He completely ignores the nuance of her platform because he knows his audience does not care about the academic differences between socialism and communism. It is all about branding. Watch the subtle reactions in the room. Nobody flinches because this norm-shattering approach has become entirely normalized. He is essentially using a global stage to run a hyper-local attack ad against a newly minted candidate. This level of instinctual narrative control is exactly why traditional politicians struggle to counter him. They bring white papers and policy briefs to a street fight, while he simply defines the reality of the situation in 5 seconds flat.
Because over a year ago, well over a year ago now, the odds were stacked against another young Muslim socialist.
Check out the energy radiating from this specific moment. She is leaning directly into the underdog narrative, weaponizing the odds that were stacked against her. Highlighting the 1% polling figure is not just a humble brag. It is a calculated strike against the political machine that tried to write her off. When a candidate openly mocks the polling data, they are telling their base that the establishment metrics are completely broken and illegitimate. It is a very clever psychological trick. By aligning herself with another young minority socialist who beat the odds, she is actively trying to prove that these victories are not statistical anomalies. They are a systemic trend. Look at the faces of the people standing behind her. That is raw, unfiltered belief. You cannot buy that kind of authentic momentum with corporate money. The traditional power brokers genuinely do not understand how to fight this because they rely on television ads and focus groups, while this movement relies on ground-level community organizing and viral authenticity. It is a total mismatch, and the old guard is finally waking up to the threat.
I think we're in a moment of uprooting of sort of conventional beliefs and conventional norms. And I think that's right, because I think our country and our economy, our democracy are heading in the wrong.
Just look at his eyes. That is the face of an establishment politician who just realized the ground is collapsing underneath his feet. He uses the phrase uprooting of conventional beliefs, which is essentially the polite, panicked, corporate way of saying his entire worldview is being rejected by his own voters. You can literally hear the anxiety bleeding through the political jargon. This is not just a simple loss. It is an ideological rejection. Watch how he tries to intellectualize the defeat. He wants to frame it as a national trend heading in the wrong direction, rather than admitting the local base simply did not want him anymore. It is a classic defense mechanism. When the moderate wing of a party starts talking about unifying around a path forward, what they actually mean is figuring out how to stop these insurgents from taking their jobs. The disconnect is staggering. They are still trying to appeal to conventional norms in an era where voters are actively rewarding politicians who promise to burn the conventional norms to the ground. The establishment is completely flying blind right now.
It's about time that we have new and fresh faces in Congress that are really going to fight for the people of this.
Listen to the specific phrasing she uses here. New and fresh faces. It sounds harmless, but in the context of a brutal primary fight, that is code for tearing down the old guard. You are looking at the exact type of grassroots volunteer that makes these insurgent campaigns dangerous. Notice the setting. It is dark, she is outside, probably exhausted, but completely energized. That level of on-the-ground dedication is exactly what outworks million-dollar ad campaigns. You can literally feel the momentum in her voice. The establishment constantly underestimates the power of localized, face-to-face organizing because it does not show up in their expensive internal polling until it is entirely too late. People like her do not care about conventional political wisdom or party loyalty. They care about immediate, disruptive change. When a campaign manages to weaponize this kind of authentic community frustration, it creates an impenetrable shield against traditional negative campaigning. The old-school consultants sitting in their high-rise offices have absolutely zero defense against a mobilized neighborhood that feels like it has nothing left to lose. It is political gravity shifting right before our eyes. The political map is literally melting down. Hit subscribe to stay ahead of the chaos.